The cold wind cut across the alien plains like a knife, carrying the metallic tang of the distant mountains. Alara shivered beneath her thin jacket, her teeth chattering despite her best efforts to stay warm. She had been walking for hours, maybe even a day. Though time felt strange here. The sky was a swirling mix of orange and green, a permanent twilight that made shadows seem alive. Her skin tingled uncomfortably, and when she caught her reflection in a small puddle, she froze. Her hands, her fingers were turning blue. Panic hit her chest like a hammer. She knew the stories human explorers rarely survived here. The alien atmosphere was thin, toxic in parts, and full of microbes that could overwhelm a human immune system in hours. Somehow, she had survived the long trek from the research station at the edge of the valley, but it was clear she wouldn't last much longer in the open. Alara forced herself to keep moving, stumbling over the jagged rocks and sparse alien vegetation. Every step was agony, but she could feel the rhythm of her heartbeat guiding her. Humans were not meant to thrive here. Yet somehow, she was still walking. Somehow, she was still fighting. A figure appeared in the distance. At first, it seemed like a mirage, a shadow thrown across the glowing sands. Then the shape became clearer, a human figure, tall, broad-shouldered, walking toward her with slow, deliberate steps. Relief and fear mixed in her chest. A human here was a rare sight. Most humans stayed at the settlements, far away from the frontier. She stumbled forward, waving weakly. "Hey, over here!" Her voice cracked, hoarse from thirst and cold. The figure approached quickly now. A man dressed in rugged, weathered clothing, a wide-brimmed hat pulled low over his brow. He was carrying a thick coat, and his eyes, sharp, calculating, and tired, studied her carefully. "Easy there, stranger," he said in a deep, gravelly voice. "You're turning blue. Come inside before you freeze solid." Alara tried to speak, but her throat felt like sandpaper. She nodded, grateful for his presence. The rancher, because that was clearly what he was, moved to her side, draping his coat over her trembling shoulders. The weight was comforting, like a shield against the cold and the strange, alien world itself. She followed him, her steps uncertain. The rancher led her across a narrow path, flanked by jagged rocks and glowing moss that pulsed softly under her feet. His movements were sure, his familiarity with the terrain obvious. For a moment, Alara wondered how he survived in this harsh place for so long, but she didn't dare ask yet. Finally, they reached a small homestead, built from a mix of metals and local materials. Smoke curled lazily from a crooked chimney, and a faint light glowed from the windows. It wasn't much, but it was shelter, and right now, it was paradise. "Inside, quick," the rancher urged, opening the door and gesturing for her to step in. The warmth hit her like a wave, making her knees buckle slightly. She inhaled deeply, savoring the smell of firewood and leather. It was a strange, simple comfort she hadn't realized she'd missed so much. The rancher guided her to a chair by the fire. "Sit. You need to warm up before we do anything else." His hands were strong as he adjusted the coat around her shoulders, careful not to touch her too roughly. "Name's Joran," he said. "I don't get many visitors out here, especially not ones who look like they're about to freeze to death." Alara managed a weak smile. "Alara," she said, her voice still shaking. I was traveling from the research station. You were lucky to find me," Joran interrupted, his tone serious. "Most people don't make it this far without getting sick or worse. That blue tint? You're reacting to the environment. Your body's trying to fight something it wasn't made for." Alara looked down at her hands. The tips of her fingers and the edges of her face were tinged with deep blue. She had felt strange all day. Lightheaded, dizzy, and strangely numb, but seeing it in the mirror of a puddle had finally made it real. What will happen?" she asked softly. Joran shook his head. "Depends on how strong you are. Most humans would be dead by now. But some survive. You just have to let your body adapt. And you have to stay warm." He set a cup of steaming liquid before her. The aroma was odd, earthy, slightly sweet, but it made her stomach growl despite the fatigue. She sipped it cautiously, and warmth spread through her chest, a small but powerful relief. Yoren studied her, squinting through the firelight. "You're human," he said finally. "A real human. Strong, stubborn, adaptable. That's probably why you're still alive." Elara's heart skipped. Humans were rare here. And her survival, her very existence, was already proving something important. She had always believed humans were resilient, but to hear it from someone who had lived on this alien frontier, it gave her a strange sense of pride. Hours passed as she rested. Joran busied himself with simple chores, feeding a small herd of alien livestock outside, checking the weak solar panels on the roof, and occasionally glancing at her. Silence settled over the homestead, but it was not an empty silence. It was heavy with tension, with unspoken questions. Finally, Elara spoke. "Why? Why are you out here alone?" Joran sighed, leaning against the doorway. "This land's hard. Most folks stay in the colonies. I like it out here, quiet, simple, predictable. But I've survived because I've learned to read the land, to respect it, and to respect what humans can do when they need to survive." She nodded, understanding for the first time the depth of human resilience. Survival was not just a matter of strength or luck, it was intelligence, creativity, and determination. It was something she carried in her blood. Even here, on a planet that seemed determined to kill her, the sun, or what passed for it here, began to sink lower, casting long shadows across the homestead. The cold pressed against the walls. But inside, the fire crackled, and the small home was a sanctuary. Elara leaned back in her chair, feeling the warmth seep into her bones. "Tomorrow," Joran said finally, breaking the silence, "we figure out what's really happening to you. For now, rest. You've made it this far, and that's something most humans can't say." Elara closed her eyes, exhaustion taking over. The cold, the blue skin, the strange, alien smells, all of it faded as sleep claimed her. But even in her dreams, she felt it. A stubborn spark. A reminder that humans had a strange, unique power to endure, adapt, and survive. Somewhere outside, the wind whispered through the jagged rocks, carrying a faint, metallic hum. The planet was alive, dangerous, and beautiful in its own harsh way. And for the first time in hours, Elara felt that she might not just survive, but that humans could thrive, even here, where no one else expected them to. When she woke, the dawn was breaking. Light filtered through the dust-filled sky, painting everything in shades of orange and green. Her skin was still tinged blue, but it didn't scare her anymore. She had survived the night, she had a protector, and she had a chance, a slim, fragile, but real chance to keep walking forward. Humans had a way of doing that. They never gave up. And on this alien frontier, that stubbornness might be the only thing standing between life and death. The morning light filtered through the dust-laden windows of Yoren's homestead, casting long, greenish-orange shadows across the wooden floor. Elara sat near the fire, wrapped tightly in the rancher's coat. She traced the faint blue tint creeping along her fingers and forearms with a mix of curiosity and worry. Each morning, she felt a strange tightness in her chest and a buzzing in her veins, a sensation she had never experienced before. Joran entered with a mug of steaming liquid, the smell earthy and slightly bitter, yet strangely comforting. "Drink this," he said, setting it in front of her. "It'll help your body wake up. You've been through a lot, and your system needs something warm and strong." Elara took a careful sip, the warmth spreading through her chest and arms. "Thank you," she murmured. "I feel different this morning. Stronger, but weird." Yoren nodded. "That's your body adapting. Humans are strange that way. Your species can survive in conditions most others cannot. You just need to give it time." He paused, his gaze sharp. "But this planet doesn't forgive mistakes. The toxins in the air, the microbes in the soil, they're still out there. You're lucky I found you when I did. Alara swallowed, feeling the weight of the truth. She had been hours, maybe a full day, from death, when Joran rescued her. Every step on this strange land was a gamble, and most humans would not have survived the journey. Yet here she was, still alive, still breathing, still thinking. After breakfast, Joran motioned for her to follow. Time to move. You need to get some fresh air, see how much your body can handle. We're not going to stay cooped up forever. Survival isn't about hiding. Outside, the wind was sharp and biting, carrying the faint metallic taste of the distant mountains. Alara felt the blue in her skin flare slightly as the cold touched her. But instead of fear, she felt a strange focus. Her body, weak yesterday, seemed to awaken, each breath filling her lungs with new energy. Notice anything unusual? Joran asked as they walked along a ridge overlooking the alien plains. Plants? Animals? Terrain? This world has ways of testing anyone who steps on it. Alara scanned the horizon. The terrain was both beautiful and hostile. Jagged rock formations rose like the teeth of a great beast, and strange glowing flora pulsed softly in patterns she could almost feel in her chest. Small creatures, nothing more than shadows, skittered across the plains. Every detail seemed alive, watching, reacting. I feel watched, she said quietly. Like something is noticing me. But I can't see it. Joran nodded. You can feel it because you're human. Humans sense danger in ways other species don't. Most life here would walk past without concern. But humans notice everything, and that can save your life. They moved further, careful not to disturb the alien vegetation. Joran stopped suddenly, crouching behind a jagged rock. He gestured for Alara to do the same. Shh, he whispered. A faint hum filled the air. Mechanical. Deliberate. Drones. Alien surveillance machines. They hovered above the plains in the distance, scanning the terrain with glowing red sensors. Alara's pulse quickened. Are they hunting humans? Joran shook his head slowly. Not just humans. They hunt anomalies. Life forms that shouldn't be here, or that act differently than expected. And humans, well, we always act differently. Her heart pounded as she watched the drones move. She realized for the first time that being human was a double-edged sword. Their ingenuity and adaptability made them dangerous to others, but it also made them a target. Back at the homestead, Joran decided it was time to check on her condition more closely. He examined her hands, turning them over carefully, watching the blue tint fluctuate in the firelight. This is new, he muttered. Your skin. It's not just reacting. It's adapting. Most humans would have gone into shock, or worse. But your body, it's doing something amazing. I don't know if the aliens understand this, but humans, we survive where others fail. Alara looked down at her hands, feeling a mixture of fear and wonder. Does this mean I'm changing? In a way, Joran said. But change is good. It's what keeps humans alive. We find solutions. We adapt. We endure. The day wore on, and Alara attempted small chores around the homestead. Her movements were slow at first, each step tiring her, but she soon found that the cold and alien environment no longer exhausted her as before. Her body had begun adjusting, subtly, in ways that even she could not yet understand. By afternoon, a strange sensation rippled through her veins, a sharp clarity, a heightened awareness of her surroundings. She could hear the faint scrape of alien creatures moving through the rocks, smell the faint changes in the wind, and even sense the subtle vibration of distant drones scanning the plains. You're noticing things others don't, Joran said, watching her. Humans have always been hunters and survivors. You've inherited something ancient. That's why you're alive, while others perish. Alara realized he was right. Even in this alien world, she could rely on her instincts, her quick thinking, and her resilience. It was as if the planet itself tested every step she took, and every step she survived made her stronger, but the relief was short-lived. Late in the day, a sharp noise cracked through the homestead. the sound of metal scraping against metal, the distinct whir of drone engines approaching. Yoren's face darkened. "They're here," he muttered, grabbing a makeshift staff leaning against the wall. "You need to hide, but stay ready. Humans aren't just prey. We fight back if we have to." Alara's heart raced. She had never been in a true fight, but she felt the spark that Yoren had described. The human instinct to survive, to endure, to protect. She nodded, gripping a small tool she had found in the homestead, ready to face whatever came through the door. The drones hovered near the perimeter of the property, scanning for heat signatures. Alara held her breath, watching as the red lights swept over the homestead. Her skin, the unusual blue tint, flickered slightly. She realized with shock that the color made her less visible to the sensors. Joran noticed immediately. "Your body. It's hiding you. That's incredible." He glanced at her with a mixture of awe and disbelief. Humans really are something else. The drones moved on, scanning other areas of the plains. Alara's chest heaved with relief, and Yoren clapped her shoulder. "See? Humans survive because we adapt. Other species might have panicked. But you've learned without even knowing it." That night, they sat near the fire, exhaustion settling in like a heavy blanket. Alara's hands glowed faintly in the firelight, the blue hue soft and mesmerizing. "You're going to be okay," Joran said quietly. "The night is the hardest part. Cold, silence, and the unknown can break people faster than anything else. But you've already survived more than most. Humans are persistent, clever, strong in ways aliens can't understand." Alara felt a warmth beyond the fire, a deep, growing pride. She was a human, and for the first time, she realized that it was not just luck that kept her alive. It was something innate, something powerful that had been honed over millennia. Survival against all odds. Outside, the wind whispered through the alien rocks, carrying the faint hum of distant drones and the subtle rustle of creatures in the shadows. The planet was dangerous, beautiful, and unpredictable, but humans had a way of enduring even in places where survival seemed impossible. Alara leaned back against the wall, eyes heavy with fatigue. Tomorrow, she would explore further, learn more, and continue adapting. But tonight, she simply allowed herself to rest, knowing that she had already passed a test that most humans could not even begin. Humans could survive, humans could endure, and sometimes, humans could even thrive in places no one else could imagine. The morning dawned strange and quiet, the alien sky painted in muted oranges and greens. Alara's skin had taken on a faint glow where the blue still lingered, a subtle shimmer she hadn't noticed before. She rubbed her arms and realized the sensation had changed. It wasn't pain anymore, it was alertness. Her body felt awake in a way it hadn't before. Yoren, already busy outside, was tending to the small alien livestock grazing near the homestead. He glanced up when he saw Alara approaching. "Ready to see more of this land?" he asked, his tone cautious. "Today we might figure out why your body reacted the way it did. There's something in the soil, in the air, something humans can fight and adapt to, but it's not natural to this planet." Alara nodded. Her mind buzzed with curiosity, excitement, and the faint sting of fear. Whatever was happening to her, she knew it was rare. Maybe humans weren't just survivors here, they were unique, and if she could understand it, she could survive. They set out on foot, moving toward a canyon that Joran had marked on an old, faded map. The canyon was treacherous, jagged cliffs rising on both sides, and the wind howled through the narrow paths like the cries of unseen creatures. The ground glimmered faintly with alien minerals, strange and sharp under their boots. "Most humans would never make it here," Yoren said, as if reading her thoughts. "Even those trained for survival would get lost or fall. But you've been adapting. You notice patterns, react to danger without thinking. That's human advantage. Your brain and instincts working together." Alara felt pride rising inside her. She had always known humans were clever, but living proof of it was Astonishing. She focused on the ground, the air, the subtle vibrations under her feet. She could feel something ahead, something out of place. The canyon opened into a small plateau, littered with twisted metal debris. Elara froze. The remnants of a ship clearly human lay scattered across the ground, corroded and broken, half buried in the alien soil. This, Yoren muttered, moving closer. A research vessel. Thought lost decades ago. Humans must have tried to explore this region long before you arrived. Elara walked carefully among the wreckage. Her fingers brushed over metal, feeling the faint pulse of energy still lingering. She could see signs of struggle, scorch marks, scratched panels, faded symbols. It was evidence humans had been here, survived, and failed. And yet, their presence hinted at something important. Humans could endure, even when the world fought them at every step. "Look here," Joran said, pointing to a small device embedded in the rocks. It was humming softly, alien in design, yet somehow familiar in its logic. This was scanning the environment. "Maybe it's what caused your reaction." Elara knelt beside it, her blue-tinted skin brushing against the humming device. As she touched it, she felt a strange vibration ripple through her veins. Her body reacted instantly, shivering, twitching, but then stabilizing. The blue glow in her skin brightened and then softened, almost as if the device was communicating with her. "What's happening?" she whispered, awe and fear mixing in her voice. "Your body is learning," Yoren said, eyes wide. "Humans can process threats in ways most species cannot. Your body isn't just resisting the alien toxins, it's figuring them out. Adapting. You're learning the environment at a cellular level. That's why your skin changed color. Why you survived the night. You're evolving." Elara's chest tightened with excitement. Humans were meant to survive. But this was beyond survival. It was understanding, adapting, becoming stronger in ways even she couldn't fully comprehend. Suddenly, the wind shifted. A low hum vibrated through the plateau, different from the usual sounds of the planet. The drones they had returned, scanning the area. Elara's heart raced. She could see them now, small but precise, moving in patterns across the canyon walls. "They're hunting anomalies," Joran said grimly. "Your adaptation is an anomaly. They'll notice it. We need to move carefully." Elara nodded, trying to control her fear. She realized her body wasn't weak anymore. The strange blue glow wasn't just a warning. It was a shield, a sign of strength. Her instincts sharpened. She noticed the subtle shadow of the drones against the canyon walls, the faint ripple of air where their engines passed. Yoren led the way, moving slowly among the wreckage. "We can use this to our advantage," he whispered. "The ship debris is scattered. You can hide among it. The drones won't expect a human to move like this, to think like this." Elara crouched behind a twisted metal panel, feeling the energy from the old ship pulsing softly under her fingers. She took a deep breath, letting the pulse flow through her. The glow in her skin spread further, becoming almost like camouflage. She moved instinctively, following Joran's lead as they weaved through the debris, careful not to disturb the alien sensors. Hours passed like this, tense and deliberate. Elara discovered something remarkable. Her body was responding to the environment almost automatically. Her muscles adjusted to the uneven terrain, her senses sharpened to detect vibrations, temperature changes, and even the faintest of sounds. She could anticipate danger before it arrived. "This is incredible," Yoren murmured. "Humans were always survivors, but this is something else. You're rewriting the rules of life here. The aliens will never understand it, but you will. And that's power." As they moved deeper into the canyon, they stumbled upon a small underground chamber, hidden beneath the rock formations. The entrance was partially collapsed, but they could see faint lights flickering inside. Elara felt a mixture of fear and curiosity. "What is this place?" she asked. Yoren examined it carefully. "Looks like another human outpost, abandoned long ago." Maybe they tried to research the same thing that's affecting you. Whatever it is, humans survived it before. Maybe we can learn from them too. They entered cautiously. The chamber was filled with alien and human technology, rusted and flickering, but functional in strange ways. Screens glowed faintly, showing unreadable symbols, while small devices hummed, analyzing the air and soil. Ilara walked among them, touching panels, feeling the hum of energy beneath her fingers. She realized that these tools were designed to study the planet's toxins, the strange minerals, and even the microbial life. Somehow, they had failed to adapt fully, but she was different. "This is why your skin changed," Yoren said softly. "The environment interacts with you. Your body learns, adjusts, and survives. Humans aren't just survivors, they adapt faster than anything else on this planet. That's why you're still alive." Ilara felt a rush of understanding. Her fear was replaced with determination. She wasn't just fighting to survive. She was learning, evolving, and preparing for the challenges ahead. The drones outside might come again, but she felt ready now. Suddenly, a sharp noise echoed through the canyon, a panel falling, metal scraping against rock. The drones were returning, closer this time. Red lights swept across the chamber, scanning for life. Yoren grabbed her hand. "Move," he whispered. "We can't fight them here. But we can hide. We can adapt. Follow my lead." Ilara nodded. She felt the energy in her body responding automatically. Her glow dimmed, blending with the shadows. She moved silently, following Joren's careful guidance. The drones passed, scanning the chamber and then moving on. When the danger passed, they both exhaled heavily, relief flooding their bodies. Ilara looked at Joren, awe in her eyes. "We survived," she whispered. "And I feel stronger than before." Yoren smiled faintly. "You've learned faster than anyone I've ever seen. Humans were always survivors. But you're something special. Maybe the planet will finally understand what humans are capable of." Ilara realized he was right. Humans didn't just endure, they adapted, evolved, and thrived in ways no one else could. The blue tint in her skin, the strange sensations, the instincts she hadn't known she possessed, it was all proof. And somewhere deep in the canyon, surrounded by alien technology and the remnants of failed human exploration, Ilara understood something fundamental. She wasn't just surviving, she was becoming stronger, smarter, and ready for whatever this world or its watchers might throw at her next. The sun dipped low, painting the alien plains in fiery orange and deep green shadows. Ilara and Joren stood at the edge of the canyon, looking out over the terrain that had become both a classroom and a battlefield. The blue tint on Ilara's skin pulsed faintly, a sign of her body's constant adaptation to the alien world. She felt alive in a way she never had before. Alert, aware, ready. Yoren examined the horizon through a pair of binoculars. "They're back," he said, voice tense but controlled. In the distance, small red lights flickered, drones scanning for any anomalies. And anomalies, right now, meant Ilara. They're moving faster than before. They've learned to anticipate the terrain. Ilara nodded. Her instincts had sharpened. She could see the faint ripples in the ground, the subtle shifts in the wind, the shimmer of heat signatures far in the distance. Her body moved with a new precision, faster and more deliberate. Humans were never meant to survive here easily, yet somehow, she could feel herself thriving. Yoren crouched beside her. "We can't fight them directly, not yet. But we can set traps, use the environment. Humans have always been clever when they need to survive. Brains over brawn." Ilara's eyes brightened. She understood immediately. Her adaptations weren't just physical, they were mental. She could see strategies forming in her mind, solutions to problems she hadn't faced before. "Follow me," Yoren whispered. They moved quietly to a narrow pass where jagged rocks rose sharply on both sides. The terrain was perfect for ambushes. "We'll make them think the land is empty. Then we'll control where they move." Humans can fight smarter than machines if we set the stage right. Hours passed as they worked in silence. Joran guided her in setting up makeshift traps using debris from the old research vessel. Panels were rigged to collapse under weight, rocks positioned to block paths, and small devices configured to emit flashes and sounds to confuse the drones. Alara moved carefully, her instincts guiding her actions. Every motion felt precise, her body responding faster than thought. "This is amazing," Joran muttered. "Humans would never let themselves be trapped like prey. You're inventing tactics on the fly. That's why you survive where others fail." As the sky darkened further, the first drones appeared on the horizon. Their red sensors swept across the canyon methodically. Alara's pulse quickened, but not with fear, excitement. She crouched behind a pile of metal debris, feeling the glow in her skin dim slightly as she melted into the shadows. Joran signaled with a hand. The first drone passed through the narrow pass, completely unaware of the traps set along the edges. Alara held her breath. Then, with a small motion, she triggered the first trap. A hidden panel shifted, causing a small avalanche of rocks to tumble down. The drone wobbled, adjusting, but the rocks disrupted its sensors just enough for the next trap to take effect. Flashing lights from the old devices and echoes from falling debris created chaos. The drones began scanning frantically. Red lights sweeping across the canyon walls. Alara's body moved automatically, her hands and feet responding with perfect timing as she guided the drones into the next series of traps. "They're learning," Joran muttered, eyes wide with admiration. "But not fast enough. Humans think differently. You're unpredictable to them, and that's power." One of the drones attempted to escape the traps, moving higher along the canyon walls. Alara anticipated the movement instantly, signaling Joran. Together, they activated a series of small energy pulses from the old devices, causing the drone to falter and crash into the rocks. Sparks flew, and for a moment, the canyon was silent, except for the hum of the wind. Alara exhaled slowly, adrenaline still coursing through her veins. Her body's adaptation had worked perfectly, the blue glow in her skin flaring briefly as if signaling victory. But the relief was short-lived. From the opposite side of the canyon, a larger, more advanced drone hovered into view. It was bigger, sleeker, and clearly designed to handle human ingenuity. Its sensors scanned in wide arcs, and its red eyes glowed with deadly precision. "We can't fight that one alone," Joran said grimly. "It's built for hunting humans like you. You'll need to use everything your body has learned, and everything I've taught you." Alara's heart raced. She didn't feel fear, she felt focus. Her mind ran through all the lessons of the day. Anticipation, observation, improvisation. She could sense the drone's patterns before it moved, predict the shifts in its searchlights, and respond instinctively. The drone moved closer, scanning the canyon floor. Alara held her breath, letting the glow in her skin blend with the shadows. She and Joran moved silently, directing its path toward a narrow gap where the rocks and debris created a natural trap. The drone hesitated, then advanced. Alara triggered a flash device from the old research equipment. The drone's sensors flickered and momentarily went blind. Joran pushed a heavy panel, sending a cascade of rocks toward the drone. Sparks flew as the drone struggled to adjust. Alara moved swiftly, her instincts guiding her every step. She darted to the side, climbed a rock, and kicked a piece of debris into the drone's path. It faltered again, caught in a trap they had created from raw human ingenuity. "This is it," Joran whispered. "The human advantage. Brains over brawn. Adaptation over brute force." The drone, unable to recover from the coordinated traps and Alara's intuitive maneuvers, finally faltered and crashed into the canyon wall. Metal twisted, lights flickered, and silence fell once more. Alara collapsed against a rock, her body trembling not from exhaustion, but from the thrill of triumph. She had survived, outsmarted an enemy far more advanced than herself, and adapted in ways that no machine could anticipate. Joran approached, clapping a hand on her shoulder. "You did it," he said. "You survived. You didn't just fight, you thought. You learned." You adapted. That's what humans do. That's why we endure where others fail. Alara smiled, exhaustion and pride mixing in equal measure. We survived, she said, and I feel stronger than before. Like I understand the land and the dangers. Like I can see patterns others can't. Yoren nodded. Exactly. And that's why humans aren't just survivors. We're innovators, thinkers, fighters when we need to be. You've just proven it in one of the hardest places in the galaxy. They settled near the fire as the night deepened. Outside, the canyon was quiet again. But the threat of drones lingered like a shadow. Alara understood now that survival wasn't just about avoiding death. It was about learning, adapting, and using intelligence to overcome challenges. Her body's glow pulsed faintly as she watched the horizon. Humans had survived worse, adapted faster, and thrived where others failed. And she knew, deep in her bones, that this planet would be no exception. This is only the beginning, Yoren said softly. They'll come back, stronger, smarter. But humans, we don't give up. We learn. We plan. We fight. And sometimes, that's enough to turn the odds in our favor. Alara nodded. She felt the spark of determination, the human instinct to endure, survive, and conquer. She wasn't just a victim of the planet anymore, she was a part of it, adapting to its dangers and mastering its challenges. Somewhere far away, the wind whispered through the canyon, carrying the faint hum of distant drones and the rustle of alien creatures. But Alara no longer feared it. She had learned, adapted, and survived. Humans were powerful, not because of strength alone, but because of their ingenuity, resilience, and unyielding will. And tonight, in the glow of the fire, she understood the truth. Humans could survive anything, and sometimes, that was enough to change the world. The first light of the alien sun crept over the jagged horizon, casting long, greenish shadows across the canyon. Alara awoke near the fire, her body still tinged with the faint blue glow that had become a sign of her survival and adaptation. The night had been quiet, almost too quiet, but she felt no fear. Instead, she felt alert, ready, and strangely powerful. Joran was already awake, checking the perimeter of the homestead and the makeshift traps they had set the night before. His eyes scanned the terrain with practiced precision, noting the subtle shifts in the wind, the slight movements of distant creatures, and the faint hum of drones far in the distance. Alara, he said quietly, without turning around. The night passed, and we survived. That's more than most humans could have done. But today we move forward. Alara nodded. She stretched, feeling strength flowing through her limbs. Her adaptation had not only saved her life, it had changed her. She could feel the pulse of the land beneath her feet, the rhythm of the alien wind, and even the faint vibrations of distant drones as they scanned for movement. Are we going to leave the canyon? She asked, her voice steady, confident. Yoren glanced at her, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Yes. There's a settlement not far from here, abandoned by most humans long ago. But it still has supplies and data. We can use it to understand more about this planet, your adaptation, and the future humans might have here. Alara's pulse quickened. She felt anticipation and excitement, but also the quiet satisfaction of knowing she had survived the first real test of this alien world. Humans were resilient, yes, but she now understood something deeper. Survival here required intelligence, strategy, and the ability to learn faster than any threat could anticipate. They set off, moving through narrow passages and jagged rocks, keeping low and silent. The canyon was alive with subtle sounds, alien creatures moving through the shadows, faint currents of air shifting, and distant hums of surveillance drones. Yet Alara noticed every detail, predicting movement, adjusting her steps, and guiding Yoren when necessary. Your instincts are incredible, Joran whispered. I've never seen a human adapt this fast. You're learning the environment, reading it, and anticipating dangers without thinking. That's why humans endure where others fail. Alara felt pride swell within her. Humans had always survived because they adapted. But she was witnessing it firsthand, not just in theory, but in real time. Her body, her mind, her senses, they were all working together, a perfect balance of intuition and intelligence. After hours of careful travel, they reached the outskirts of the abandoned human settlement. The buildings were rusted, partially collapsed, yet still functional in strange ways. Panels flickered with faint energy, and old research devices hummed quietly, as if waiting for someone to awaken them. This place. Humans were here before, Alara whispered, running her hand over a rusted control panel. They must have tried to study the planet. Maybe even survive like us. Yoren nodded. They did. And they learned what you're learning now, that humans aren't just survivors. We're adaptable, creative, capable of mastering environments that seem impossible. That's why we endure. Alara explored further, her senses picking up faint signs of past activity. She found logs, old maps, and recordings left by previous human explorers. Each entry told the same story. Humans had come. Humans had struggled. And humans had adapted. But many had failed. Yet here she was, a living proof of what humans could achieve when adaptation and intelligence worked together. Suddenly, the ground vibrated faintly beneath their feet. Red lights flickered outside, and a familiar hum filled the air. Drones. They were back, more numerous and organized than ever. Joran's eyes narrowed. They've learned. They're coming for us. Alara felt the pulse of adrenaline, but not panic. Her body had adapted. Her mind sharpened. And her instincts were flawless. She knew they could survive. Not just by hiding, but by outsmarting the drones entirely. They moved quickly through the settlement, using the old structures as cover. Alara noticed patterns in the drones, scanning predictable arcs, repeated sweeps, brief blind spots. She guided Joran through the safest paths, using shadows, energy pulses, and debris to confuse and mislead the machines. Humans don't just fight, Joran said, breathing heavily but steady. We think. We plan. We use what others overlook. That's why we win. That's why we survive. Hours passed as the drones prowled the settlement. Alara and Joran worked in sync, using traps, shadows, and intuition to remain unseen. Every moment highlighted the unique strength of humans. The ability to learn, anticipate, and adapt faster than any machine could. By the late afternoon, the drones retreated, their scans complete but ineffective. Alara and Joran emerged from their hiding places, exhausted but triumphant. You see, Joran said, clapping her shoulder. Humans endure. We adapt. We survive. And sometimes, we thrive where no one else can. Alara looked around at the settlement, the ruins of human ambition, and then at her own glowing skin. The blue shimmer had softened, but remained, a reminder of her adaptation and resilience. I understand now, she said softly. Humans aren't just survivors. We learn, we think, we fight, and we endure no matter what the world throws at us. Joran smiled faintly. Exactly. And now, it's time to see what humans can do next. This planet is dangerous. Yes, but it's also full of possibilities. Humans are the only species who could truly make a life here. And that starts with us. Jeventendis, 2012, Alara felt a surge of determination. They would rebuild, study, and explore. Humans had survived the impossible once, and there was no reason they couldn't do it again. Her adaptation, combined with Joran's experience and her own ingenuity, made them a force unlike any the alien world had ever faced. As night fell, they lit a fire in the center of the settlement. The glow reflected off the twisted metal and alien flora, casting long shadows that danced across the walls. Alara felt a profound sense of belonging not just to the land, but to humanity itself. Humans had always faced impossible odds, yet they endured, thrived, and left their mark. Somewhere far away, drones hummed faintly in the distance. But they no longer felt like a threat. Alara knew that humans could always find a way to survive, to adapt, and to overcome. It was in their nature. Joran handed her a cup of warm liquid, the smell comforting and familiar. To humans, he said simply. To surviving. To thriving. Ilara raised her cup, her blue-tinted skin glowing faintly in the firelight. To humans, she echoed. And for the first time since she had arrived on this alien world, she felt hope not just for herself, but for all humans who might one day walk these plains. In the quiet of the alien night, the two humans sat together, surrounded by ruins, traps, and the alien wilderness. They had survived the impossible, outsmarted their pursuers, and proven the power of human resilience, ingenuity, and adaptability. And as the alien sun rose once more over the jagged horizon, Ilara understood that this was only the beginning. Humans would endure, humans would adapt, humans would thrive, for on this harsh, alien world, no one had ever survived like a human before. And now, they had.